Okay, I'm back. You know, just like a soldier in the field, I take the most efficient urination that I can because I don't want to get shot in the back. We're gonna have a bit of comedy in this, you know. Oh my gosh. Okay, let this play a little bit more because I'm interested.
At the right time, at the right dose, for the right condition, so that your individual treatment will benefit you. I've given you a medical example, but this applies at every single department in government, for every policy, and for every sector in Canada. Pharmaceutical policy, sex and gender-based analysis plus, how would I approach this? First, I'd look at the sex or biological factors that have to do with drugs. And we know that drugs are processed differently and metabolized differently than men and women. Let me tell you 4 or 5 reasons why. First of all, women tend to be smaller than men, so the same dose of a drug has a greater effect in a smaller body than in a bigger body. Because women are smaller, their kidneys are smaller. Because their kidneys are smaller, it takes them longer to excrete the drug, and the drug tends to accumulate in their body. This part's kind of sad, but it also turns out that women have a lot more fat tissue than men, even if they exercise the same and they're the same age and everything. It's just the way our bodies are designed. And what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of medication tends to linger or accumulate in fat tissue. It's just kind of warm and fuzzy and it stays there a little bit longer. So now we have the drugs being eliminated more slowly and kind of being accumulated in the body. So it turns out that statistics tell us that women have twice as many side effects from most medications than men. That's how the body and the drug interact.
That also includes mood stabilizing drugs, learning disability drugs, and so on and so forth. So if you're on stimulants of the amphetamine kind, because you think you have ADHD or ADD, let me tell you, from the horse's mouth, from Dr. Kara Tenenbaum. I'm not calling you a horse, Dr. Tenenbaum, just a euphemism. Just frankly, just like Christina Fralin, if I was in a position where it was a bullet and having sex with you, I would have sex with you. Throw you the old gummy worm, give you the old college try. What do I care? Anyways, that's a good joke, isn't it? Moving on.
There's another way that the drug and the body interact, and that's if once the drug is attached to the receptor in the body, does it produce a greater effect? Talking about opioids, it turns out that when the opioid drug attaches to the receptor in the brain that controls pain and euphoria and all those things that happen when you take an opioid, that if a woman is at a certain phase in her menstrual cycle and has more or less estrogen in her body at a given time, that might potentiate or increase the effect of the opioid on that woman. So it's not only what the body does to the drug, but what the drug does to the body that might have to do with sex or biological factors. Now imagine that I were tasked with putting together the drug formulary and which drugs should actually be on this formulary. A lot of factors are going to come into consideration. We'll have to look at the price of the drug, we'll have to look at who's using it, we'll have to look at the different medical conditions. And here I'll give a shout out to some of the work that's been funded by the Institute of Gender and Health, that I would expect somebody working on this file to go pull out the drug atlas that's been published, which disaggregates this information according to male and female use of the drug. So we have information in Canada showing what proportion of sleeping pills are taken by males or females, in what age group, and how many of them are currently covered, and how many of them are not currently about the appropriateness of choosing one drug over the other. So, sex, gender, medication, I think it all interacts. And there could be some severe unintended consequences if you don't think about sex and gender when you're making pharmaceutical policy.
The fact that I can't access the nitty-gritty details of all this because I don't have a governmental ID tells me that's fucking bullshit. Because the best information is free. Now, I don't want to get too much into Dr. Tenenbaum's credibility here. All things considered, if we're going to tear apart the position here and the differential treatment between men and women and how that applies to the Cfhd and the subjective interpretation depending on the matrix of pay rate to quality of living, right? Then I'm going to tear this apart now. I've written more than a few points while I was exercising because the scientific data is there in that exercise is best for intellectuals as it is for everybody else because of the oxidization and the other factors. But you have to consider. I have to consider her heritage, her education, and her career. Her career has been to, we go to the Wikipedia page. Cara Tenenbaum is a Canadian researcher and practicing physician in the fields of geriatrics, women's health, and gender research. Since 2015, Tenenbaum has served as a scientific director of Canadian Institute of Health Research's Institute of Gender and Health. She was appointed as a member of the Order of Canada on November 17, 2021. At this point, I will show you some academic credentials because I put this on LinkedIn, and so I'm not approaching you, Dr. Cara, from an ignorant position. Okay, so what I have here is my transcript from Fanshawe College. So, reading, this is 2008, 2009, right here. Okay, I wasn't necessarily the greatest, most adept student because school is not for smart people. Date printed November 21st, 2016. See, 2016 was the year that I last walked into a recruiting office. 2016 was the year that Trudeau, let's see, we'll check this again. Life moves on. Anyways, Okay. Trudeau was elected in 2015. That's right. And Stephen Harper lost. Tom Mulcair, NDP. My life has gotten worse since 2015. I mean, it started steadily getting worse after 2012, after I graduated, and the I would say monumental shakeup of the breakup between me and an ex-girlfriend, whom was in university at the time and a believer and proponent of SJW, Tumblr feminism, intersectionality, and the prevailing subjective ideology of the time. You know, I love that woman with everything I have. So back to my transcript here. 2008, 2009. Reading and Writing for Humanities. Survey of Western Literature. History of Western Art. Human Relations. Gender and Sexuality. Researching Writing for the Humanities. Rebels, Misfits, and Criminals. The Culture and History of Islam. History of Western Art 2. Themes in the Humanities. Again, my GPA is not very high. It's 1.83. I had to take this 1 year of General Arts and Science, Liberal Studies major. Ontario College Certificate awarded April 30th, 2009. Program GPA of 2.20. 30 credits. One of my officers, my CIs, worked in the registrar at this time. And you know what? She tried to encourage me to take courses in military leadership. But I was so heartbroken with the CAF. I wanted nothing to do with them. And here it is. Okay? So I understand what I'm talking about more than other people do. And let me see. Oh, look, I got 2 passports here. And this here was from last time I went through for Greenland. June 23rd, 2015. I was going to Iceland. I have a bigger beard now than I did in this photo. My hair was down here. But I'm not gonna show this to you because obvious implications. And this is valid till the 23rd of April, 2025. I plan to use this again here. This guy here. I do. Because I'm as good as I can be. And you don't ever let an old passport go. It's just too delicate. Did I ever look like a punk? I've had a passport since the 23rd of May, 2006. Edinburgh, Scotland. So many unfilled pages. More attributions to my credibility. And the subjective treatment I've received from governmental organizations and the opportunities I've lost because of intersectionality and the short-sightedness of judgmental, idiotic people. Okay. So now we're going to get into more conclusions and observations. Excuse me. Because now we're going to have some fun, because I've done most of the work as it is with the history of propaganda. And I wrote out some points, as I was just saying. Okay, so GBA is based upon gender research. So what is gender research? This is from cohenforskning.soc.ku.dk/English. Gender research covers different areas of specialization. Gender research is a term covering equality research, women and feminist studies, research on men and masculinities, and queer identities. The field addresses basic issues such as democracy, equality, and knowledge in society. Furthermore, it focuses on how gender interacts in conceptual and literal terms with other categories such as ethnicity, sexuality, and social background. Gender research elucidates the ways in which complex processes define gender and gender relations. This applies both to the often unequal distribution of power between men and women and to the form of symbolic images that relate gender to categories of which it has no obvious connection, such as nature and culture. All in all, gender research reveals how the perception of gender influences power and hierarchies in society. Gender research may be summarized into three perspectives, which may often overlap: current inequities and barriers in social structures and organizations, for instance, in relation to pay, promotion, childcare, and mobility, and in relation to health and sexual harassment. Symbolic and cultural conditions. The research demonstrates that the production of gender and gendered structures in institutional settings, such as education, healthcare, and welfare, as well as in more all-encompassing financial and cultural formations such as globalization. Gender research includes comparative and transnational perspectives, as well as explanations of the gender-specific implications of parenthood, violence, and prostitution across national borders and cultures. The premise for the production of knowledge, for instance, by connecting natural and technical scientific paradigms with sociological and humanist approaches. This involves the critical analysis of central ideological concepts of masculinity and femininity, as well as new interpretations of scientific core concepts such as quality, objectivity, and technology. If you ask me, looking at that, it's fucking horseshit. Sex and gender in health research. This is from CIHR-IRSC.GC.CA/E/50833.html. Repeat. C. Let's do that as in phonetics. Charlie, India, Hotel, Romeo, dash, India, Romeo, Sierra, Charlie, dot. Grover. Charlie, dot, Charlie, Alpha, slash, Echo, slash, Fife, 30833. Dot, Hotel, Tango, Meta, Lima. I can't remember all of fucking phonetics all the time. Sex and gender in health research. How to integrate sex and gender into research. Going forward with this, there is significant evidence to demonstrate that biological and social differences between women, men, girls, boys, and gender diverse people contribute to differences in their health. Sex, biological attributes, and gender, socio-cultural factors, influence our risk of developing certain diseases, how well we respond to medical treatments, and how often we seek health care. Accounting for sex and gender in health research has the potential to make health research more rigorous, more reproducible, and more applicable to everyone. CIHR is a signatory on the Government of Canada's health portfolio, sex and gender-based analysis policy, as well as the Tri-Council Policy Statement on Ethical Conduct for Research Involving Humans. You know how contrived that sounds? Tri-Council Policy on Statement on Ethical Conduct for Research Involving Humans. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Let's open that up. Oops, page not found. What a surprise. We recently redesigned the panel on research ethics website to serve you better, but some pages names might not have changed. So that goes to ethics.gc.ca/eng/home. Kind of funny how things get obfusified, isn't it? The important information is always behind a paywall. Or some sort of qualification, some initiation. If you're not part of the core group, then you don't really know what's going on. Impacts of integrating sex and gender in research. Let's open that up. Some of this is based on actual facts, but the interpretation and the subjectivity is where it becomes more and more murky, right? It's just not as clear cut as you think it is. GPA plus 101, Introduction to Importance and Applications, CIHR-IRSC.gc.ca. So it has a video gallery. They have a YouTube page. It doesn't say very much. Better Science with Sex and Gender, Facilitating the Use of a Sex and Gender-Based Analysis in Health Research. Open new tab. It's a paper, it's an abstract from BMC, International Journal for Equity in Health. So, Dr. Tenenbaum, as I said in my Instagram, none of you are going to like this very much, including Dr. Tenenbaum. So, origins. As I said before, the surname means fir or Christmas tree in German and is, funnily enough, this is from forebears.io, a common Jewish surname. So as I said before in my Instagram post, Ashkenazic, which is a certain sect of Judaism, German topographic name or Jewish artificial name from German Tenenbaum, fir tree, pine tree. So topographic meaning geographical, is of a certain territory. So why do I mention Judaism? Why do I go after her religious and historical lineage? Because it's important. It is absolutely important. As a Christian man, and learning about the conflicts of Jerusalem from the Bible and thereafter, you know, again, I'm very educated. Okay? I don't come from a position of ignorance. And I'll fucking pull down my fucking do your best award for a second here, so that you can stare at it right in your face. I was a Boy Scout, and then I was cadet. Reading from the back. Awards for Noel Steele. Second, epaulets. Naturalist. Cooking. Winter Coving. Tawny Star. Collector. Entertainer. Athlete. Cyclist. Team player. Disability awareness. Family helper, first aider, law awareness, pet care, space exploration, world religions, and my language strip. Esti tabernacle pour mon héritage and ma grand-mère. Awarded from the 29th Compact, May 1997. You can't run from who you are. You can't. I may have not been the best, but leadership is not about being the best. It's about enabling other people. So let's get into this because it needs to be said. Now, I was reminded earlier of what Donald Trump said in January. And what he said needs to be said because there is subjective expression and treatment of men and women in North American society right now that is cultural Marxism. Excuse me. And I wrote down again. I was saying before. Coming from a position of education and of listening, okay, from my life experiences and from learning from the experiences of other people. These are the points that I was coming up with while I was working out earlier today. Birth control is not an inherent, inalienable right. It is a privilege of the privileged. Sex change operations are not a right and are not a life-saving intervention and are not positive in outcome and are not a inherent, inalienable right. The operations are a privilege of the privileged. Sex and sexual orientation come with inherent biases. So Dr. Tenenbaum, her career has been focused on the elderly and the issues of women. So she has an inherent bias for which she is not disclosing. But if you're willing to look at it from, a pulled back, forest for the trees perspective, you can see exactly what kind of person she is. Matriarchy versus patriarchy. Hypermasculinity and femininity. These again, we're going to reiterate some points from the rest of history propaganda here. Is gay and is also toxic to society vis-a-vis the mouse utopia experiment. Cultural shame and self-loathing is passed from mother to daughter. Shame is a mutation of jealousy. So if you want to go by Freudism, penis envy. Gender is not performative. It is the prerogative of sexual reproductive. It is a law of nature. You cannot avoid it. Male and female brains are wired differently. And form follows function, and an undeniable in biology. So again, there's some things that Dr. Tenenbaum and I agree upon, but not everything. Intersectional studies are predatory and manipulative vis-a-vis scope creep and overlap, defined into oblivion, moving goalposts, and other logical fallacies. So when your intersectionality is trying to take different disciplinary studies and attempting to put them together into a melting pot for a more holistic interpretation, but it doesn't work. Now, since this is about money and labor and effort, right? Because that's what it comes down to. If the currency of the country is worthless, gender parity is also worthless. If favorable treatment, excuse me, is given to immigrants, then feminism is worthless. In the end, it's about labor, effort, cost, social status matrix, aka horseshite. Equal opportunity, again, this is the basis of democratic society and evaluation, these ethics. Equal opportunity, not equal outcome. This is the only evaluation and quantification of humanity that is truly fair, since we are not created equal and we are not equally intelligent, skilled, or talented. Pay rates or subsidy by geography is manipulative and unethical due to hidden taxation via inflation and debt load of each individual qualified for the benefits. So GBA and this benefit for the Canadian Armed Forces is fucking stupid. You either all get the same or not at all. It is up to the individual thereafter to figure out what to do with their budget. And then we're getting into the controversy. Some Jews hate Christians and North American values and principles of the Scottish and German Enlightenment, including the historical context of the Rothschild family dark personality quadrant, which is an expression of the triad, which includes sadomasochism, because it exposes their inbred bloodlines and narcissistic psychopathic behaviors that is the result of inbreeding, eugenics, and underdeveloped prefrontal lobes. Because the prefrontal lobe within the brain is responsible for emotions and perception and empathy. Now we're going to get into some geopolitics from this point on. There's Jews in China. And China has ties to Israel for the Belt and Road Initiative. The New Silk Road. A grandiose Icarus abomination to establish Zionist supremacy, exercising historical revenge and world dominance in competition with the Catholic Church in Rome. GBA is Zionistic economic psychobabble designed to make people further impoverished, suicidal, and demoralized. Physical labor, being in the trenches, is more important than intellectual or emotional labor. When the end quantification doesn't justify the means, rebellion happens. No beer and pizza equals no war fighters, because the physical requirements of stressful situations that most civilian women will never understand, and that of higher up female